What's up, scholars? Today we're going to talk about using trig to find angles. So in this question, we have a triangle NOP. We know the measure of angle P is 90 degrees. We know that side NO is 88 feet, side PN is 62 feet, and we are supposed to find the angle, the measure of the angle O to the nearest degree, which means the nearest whole degree, which means we'll have no numbers after the decimal point. Well, we're supposed to use trig, okay. We learned about sine being the opposite over hypotenuse and cosine being the adjacent over the hypotenuse and a tangent being the opposite over the adjacent. That's some things we know about trig. In this question, we've got this angle X here. We know the side across from it is 62. That would be called the opposite side. And we know the hypotenuse is 88. So we would know that the sine of this mystery angle X is equal to the opposite side over the hypotenuse, 62 over 88. Now, how do we get this X by itself? So let's do a quick, totally related but not related example. Let's say I had 2x equaled 10. Now to get x by itself, I would do the inverse operation of what's happening to the x. Right now, x is being multiplied by 2, so we do the inverse to both sides, which would be dividing by 2. So we need an inverse operation for sine. And what do you know? It's called sine inverse. Sine inverse, which looks like sine to the -1. That's sine inverse. And when you take the inverse sine of sine, it cancels that out, just like our 2's canceled out here. So we have to do it to both sides. We have to take the inverse sine of both sides, just like we divided by 2 on both sides. So we're going to do the inverse sine on both sides. Inverse sine of 62 over 88 over 88. Again, just like those 2's canceled out, this cancels out the sine here. So we have x is equal to the inverse sine inverse of 62 over 88, and we're going to go plug that into a calculator that can do inverse trig functions. I'm going to use Mathway, and I'm going to say that x equals sine to the -1 inverse sine of, nope, I need to go over, there you go, 62 divided by 88. And let's say solve. I'm going to press that arrow. It's going to ask me, what do I want? I'm looking for a measure in degrees for an angle. So let's say solve for x in degrees. And what do we get? 44.7. And we are rounding to the nearest whole number. Trying to get that right in the middle. It is now working. So round to the nearest whole number, we're going to get 45 degrees. 45 degrees should be our answer. 45 degrees. Submit. Yes. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, recap. What did we do? We had our picture. Let me erase just a little bit of what's going on here. Had our picture. We knew the side across from the angle we were looking for, which was the opposite. We knew the hypotenuse. So we were using the sine ratio, which uses opposite and hypotenuse. We set it up. Sine of angle x was equal to the opposite, 62 over the hypotenuse, 88. To get the x by itself, we needed to do the inverse operation of sine, which is sine inverse. Did that to both sides. That canceled the sine out on the left to get x all by itself. So x equaled inverse sine of 62 over 88. We went and plugged that into our calculator. Bada bing, bada boom, got our answer. Excellent. Let's do another question. Now we've got this triangle RST. T is 90-degree angle, so we have a right triangle, which means we're going to get to use our trig ratios. They're only applicable for right triangles. We know that RS is 4.9 We know that ST is 2.7 feet. Find the measure of angle S to the nearest 10th of a degree. So we'll have a 1 number after the decimal. So we need to decide what sides we've got. Well, we know 4.9 is the hypotenuse. And in relation to our angle we're looking for, 2.7 is the adjacent side. So we must be using cosine, which is adjacent over hypotenuse. So we have cosine of our angle X is going to be our adjacent side, 2.7 over our hypotenuse, 4.9. And just like sine, cosine has an inverse, which is called inverse cosine. So we're going to take the inverse cosine of both sides, inverse cosine of x, and that will cancel that cosine out to get x by itself. We have to do it on both sides. It's only fair. Inverse cosine of 2.7 over 4.9. 4.9 division, that cancels out. So we have x is equal to inverse cosine of 2.7 over 4.9. And we go on over to our online calculator and plug that in. X is equal to inverse cosine, -1, of, what did I say, 2.7 divided by 4.9. And here's my cursor. Great. What are we looking for here? Already told her there. 56.56. We're rounding to the nearest 10th. So we'll say 56.6. 56.6 here. 56.6. Submit answer. Are you sure? Yes, I am. Because we the boss. We the boss. Excellent. All right, let's do one more together. And we've got triangle QRS. We've got a 90-degree angle, so we can use our trig ratios because they're only applicable for right triangles. We've got side SQ is 9.7. We've got side RS is 1.3. Find the measure of angle R to the nearest degree, which means nearest whole number. So we'll have no numbers after the decimal point. So in relationship to the angle of interest, we have the side across from it. That's called the opposite side. We have the side right next to it. That's not the hypotenuse. So that is the adjacent side. So we must be using tangent. So we have tangent of our mystery angle X. Tangent of X is going to equal the opposite side over the adjacent side, 9.7. over 1.3, and you guessed it, we're going to take the inverse tangent of both sides to get x by itself. Inverse tangent of x. It's going to equal inverse tangent of 9.7. Ooh, can you do it? Yeah, I can. Of 9.7 over 1.3. 9.7 over 1.3. That cancels this out, so we just have x is equal to tangent inverse of 9.7 over 1.3, and of course, we're going to go ask a calculator to answer this question. X is equal to tangent -1 of 9.7 over 1.3. Boop, doop, ba-doop, boop, boop. Give it to me. What's it say? 82.36. This said the nearest what? Nearest degree. So we would just want 82 because 3 is less than 5. So we round that down to 82 degrees. 82 degrees, gonna be our answer here. Submit. Are you sure? Yes, we are. So quick little recap. What are we doing? We are identifying which sides we have based off of our reference angle. In this case, we were given the opposite side and the adjacent side, which meant we needed to use tangent. So we set it up as tangent of x is equal to opposite over adjacent, 9.7 over 1.3. To get x by itself, we use the inverse operation. In this case was tangent inverse of both sides. Set that up, plug it into our calculator to get our answer. All right, that's it, scholars. Love you so much. Great to see you back. Keep on that hustle.